Thank you everybody for attending tonight. My name is Patrick Dempsey. I'm not the actor, in case anybody's wondering. But I am the Southwest Regional Sales Manager. I'll tell you just a little bit about myself. I've been with the company, with Lumenis, for 10 years. Best company in the space. Great technology, great people. I've worked with Tammy Haddad, who a lot of you guys know, as well as Victoria. Tammy actually helped me get some of my first sales and educate some of my first customers way back in the day, along with Cole over here as well too. But hope everybody enjoys the evening tonight. FoLix is this unbelievable breakthrough new technology that we have that we're really excited about. So a lot of this hair category, there's a lot of buzz going on right now. With people who have been looking for solutions that are predictable, that are comfortable, that give really good results at the end of the day. And Lumenis has spent 7, 8, 9 years going through their FDA clearances and approvals and studies to come up with this technology that can be utilized for people in the health and wellness space. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the mic over to Cole and Katie to let them introduce themselves, but everybody enjoy and learn tonight. If anybody has any technical questions, Katie and Cole are experts at answering some of those as well too. I'm also part of the pricing committee up here, so if anybody wants to dive into some numbers or talk about what it looks like to bring this on in your practice after the fact, I can help with that as well too. So thank you guys very much, and I will turn it over to Katie.
I don't know if I've ever spoken in a microphone, so forgive me. My name is Katie Wills, and I am an acute care nurse practitioner. I live in Austin, Texas, and I'm the CEO and founder of Elysian Head Spa. I spent 15 years in critical care medicine, and last year, early 2024, took a trip to Japan where I discovered a head spa. And at the time I was chronically fatigued and really just thinking, like, the more I achieve in my career, the more tired I am and the less I have for myself and for my life. So I wanted to develop something that I could make my own. The head spa just kind of happened. It's one of those things that just makes sense and you just do it and somehow it falls into place and no one stops you and you keep thinking someone's going to stop you and no one does, and it works and it's amazing. So I started, first I learned how to read an Excel sheet because I didn't know. I was just kind of really blindly going full faith into the experience. So I decided, I kind of worked on how to open the head spa, and I wanted to add a hair restoration component to it. I knew that I wanted to really base everything off of science and be as clean as possible and as natural as possible with everything that we did across all of our services. And so the FoLix had just come out, and I got super lucky with calling Wes, my local rep, and I said, I see this incredible technology just came out, but why aren't there any in Austin? Why aren't there any in Texas? And he said, it's brand new, no one has any yet. And I said, well, I want one. I just know this is right for my business. I went to Nashville, I took a look at it, and I walked out, and Wes said, you want to buy one? And I said, I mean, I do, but I don't even have a business, so I can't buy this expensive machine. And he said, what if I find somewhere for you to run your laser? I said, oh, that'd be great. And the next day he called me and he said, I have a space for you in central Austin. Not only did I buy the laser, started my practice there, or my spa there, but it has just been such a great starting place for us. So we've only been open for about 10 months. We've served over 2,000 head spa clients in our 2 rooms. And we have now started this hair loss practice. So I got a Trichologist certification, and I do hair loss consults, and then I do the FoLix as well. I do a couple of other treatments, but it's really based around the FoLix, and then just giving recommendations for anybody who comes in for hair loss. So it's been a great part of my practice. I've learned a ton, and I have so much more understanding and confidence in the machine than I did before, just from anecdotally having great results with all my clients. So that's me, and that's why I'm here today.
Thank you, Katie. My name's Cole Whitaker. This is not my first time to hold a microphone. Back when I was young and full of energy, I used to be a country music singer. So this does come a little bit second nature to me to perform. So I'm going to do my best to perform tonight. I've had ample caffeine and not enough food. So we'll figure out where we go from there. I am 20 years in this industry, and back when I started 20 years ago, I owned my own company. So most people go to work for a Lumenis, they go to work for a manufacturer, and they learn from those manufacturers. Well, I took a chance on myself and I opened up a distributorship, and I wound up distributing for about 15 different manufacturers. And when you're a distributor, you are the marketing department, you are the clinical department, you are the sales department, you're everything. And so you have to learn that information with a different intensity. You have to learn it to teach it. And so that's what I did for many years. And I was at Lumenis 10 years ago, helping to write the script, tell the story, make it look easy so that the sales reps can go out there and do it again and again and again. That's what I was asked to come back and take a look at FoLix. And it was something that I had explored when I was with Lumenis 10 years ago, when they were taking just our non-ablative fractional laser and treating scalps, and then using that to work with topicals. And when it was introduced to me, I said, yeah, you have nothing, because topicals work. We all know that topicals work, so just because you put a laser with it doesn't mean that the laser works. That'd be like doing topicals plus a hairdryer and declaring that a hairdryer works for regrowing hair. Well, that's not how that works, and we all know that. So it wasn't until they were able to remove the topical portion of it that all of a sudden they have something to work with. And they form-built this system specifically for hair loss. And so we have a laser that is the first and only of its kind. It's the only FDA-cleared laser for treating or addressing hair loss. And it is very unique. And the results we're going to talk about today are unique to this system. And we're really proud to have you guys here tonight. So we're going to go through some slides. We won't kill you with PowerPoint. We know you can read, so I'm not just going to read line for line everything that's up there. And then we're happy to share these slides with you afterwards. There have been a couple of comments tonight about there's other people involved with this and other people that you wish were here tonight. Well, I'd love for you guys to be able to share those slides with those individuals after tonight. So go ahead and advance. The biggest thing we have to establish early on is the opportunity. Is there an opportunity for hair loss treatments in today's market? And these numbers will absolutely tell you yes, that the demographic studies are going to give you 85% of men and 50% of women in their lifetime are going to suffer from hair loss. 1 in 4 men start balding before age 21, and 66 will experience hair loss by the age of 35. That sounds like a great demographic, and if you guys run laser centers or med spas or anything like that, you know that men are the holy grail of clients. Everybody's nodding because they use all sorts of efforts. They go out of their way to do marketing campaigns specifically to target men. They'll replace the man or the woman in the photo with the man so that the guys can see the guys that look like them. But imagine having a treatment that appeals to 85% of men. There's something special to that. Now, women, not to be left out, 50% of women experience hair loss and they'll start losing hair by age 50. It's a huge demographic. Again, the people that are coming to your practice on a daily basis. In the USA, hair loss is affecting 80 million people, 50 million men, 30 million women. And it's central to the sense of identity and self. Patrick, would you go ahead and advance?
Can I say something on that? I actually, in my practice, because we have so many females coming in, I see 50% female, 50% male. And I do think that because females are so accustomed to getting laser treatments all over their body, they have a very fast buy-in to the process. They know lasers work, they're very comfortable, not afraid of the pain, thrilled that it's not going to be uncomfortable, but I actually see a lot of females, and I do think that it's like I said, much quicker for them to just be like, oh yeah, I want to do that, because I've done treatments on other places. Men, most oftentimes have done no treatments, and they have never really had any personal experience with doing anything that's even relatively uncomfortable or anything like that. So it kind of takes a little bit more time for them, I think.
That's right. Would you address the next slide? This is right up your alley.
Yeah, so, a lot of my clients actually are, our demographic is 30 to 40-year-old females, because that's, the clientele that we have at the head spa, and that's really who's mostly looking for head spas in the area. So that's who comes to find me. A lot of our clients are also postpartum, so we have a lot, and also stressed, right? So much telogen effluvium, it's a big part of who I see. And so the amount of stress that happens during those specific times in life are extraordinary. So it impacts everything that you do. I do think it has to be very well explained as far as the process that you go through when you're doing the FoLix, because you will have a shedding, and the level of shedding, there's significance of the shedding, I do think has to do as a result of what type of alopecia you're having or why you're having the hair loss. You have a telogen effluvium and you're really in the throes of it, it's very acute, you're having a ton of shedding. Is there a risk that you're going to have a lot more shedding before it gets better? Yes, and I've had that, and it's devastating for the females, so you have to be thoughtful about why they're having hair loss, how much shedding they're going to have, and if it's going to get worse before it gets better. But always, it does get better. You just kind of got to ride the wave sometime, and the more you can do to educate them on it helps them get through, the self-doubt, the uncomfortable lack of self-confidence, those kinds of things. So we can get through it, but you got to kind of know what you're buying into, so that helps a lot.
This is a you thing.
This is a me thing. So I do have clients who have lost weight on the Ozempic and different SGLT. Sorry, I was in heart failure. GLP-1s. And so what I've noticed with them is they come in and they say, no, I don't eat protein. No, I don't really eat. I've lost 30 to 50 pounds, and no, I'm not going to eat more, and I know I'm not going to address the nutrition. So I do move forward cautiously optimistic with them. We will have a slide in a little bit. That's one of my friends and clients who is this exact candidate. She has telogen effluvium from weight loss, poor nutrition, ongoing malnutrition, and subtraction alopecia from the extensions she's using to try to cover it up. So we treated her anyhow, and we do see results despite them having ongoing poor nutrition. But I haven't had 9 months to 12 months to really get through all of it and see how things land out on the other end. So on those case scenarios, for sure, I'm pushing other things. Like I use the plated hair serum, and I want them to do red light, and I want them to do other things to augment the results.
Common men's journey. I'll do men, and then you get to do women. Begins with denial. For me, it was college. I had hair in college, believe it or not, and then as my hair starts falling out, people are pointing it out to me, and I didn't believe it because it was in the back of my head where I can't see it in the mirror, so it must not exist, right? The social remarks come in, the ineffective solutions. I have been trying everything under the sun. My personal journey, 20 years ago, I launched a low-level laser therapy device. So imagine a giant device that you would pay a doctor to come in, twice a week initially, then down to once a week, etc., to sit under this device. And that device was about 60 or 80 grand for the doctor to purchase, and then the patients would come in and sit underneath that. I launched that as a distributor, 18 years ago likely. Started with that, and that was hopeful for me. About 11 years ago, I did neograft, a form of transplant surgery. It's a follicular unit extraction. So did that about 11 years ago, but they didn't do enough units. I was probably a 4,000 unit candidate, and they did 1,100. So I was still essentially bald, and continued from that point on. For the last 10 years, I've been using red light caps, I've been using topicals, I've been using oral. Everything that you possibly can throw at my hair, I've been using, and all I've done is maintain what I had 10 years ago. But I'm now 2 months after starting FoLix treatments, and I'm actually growing hair for the first time, to the point that I'm now parting my hair. I'm parting it the opposite direction. I used to keep it really loose and kind of fun because there really wasn't much to cover up. And if it got too long, it looked like I had a comb over. If it was too short, it really showed how bare my scalp was. So with just 2 months worth of FoLix treatments, I'm actually growing hair for the first time. I'm growing the little tiny hairs, the little things that have been miniaturized through all these different processes, and that's exciting. It's exciting for me to be a part of that, and it's not that foreign to what other men were going to experience. That I've had the red light, I'm using it twice a week on the regular, and then all of a sudden I go 2 months without using it, and you do notice the results start to fade away when you stop doing things like that. That's one of the benefits of FoLix, is that you don't suffer from that patient compliance issue. That you're simply doing your scheduled treatments, and then you get them on a maintenance program to maintain what they've already achieved. For females, though.
So for the females, I think the menopause is a tough time in general, and then hormone replacement, all these things are all going to impact their hair. I also see, like I said before, a lot of postpartum, and then I have a lot of the telogen effluent from stress, and then I have a lot of patients with androgenic alopecia, females, and it really spans the severity. I had a woman this morning who thought she was going bald, and she barely had any thinning on her temples. I've had women come in who are extremely thin, like very, very, very advanced androgenic alopecia across their scalp. There's sometimes medication and adverse things that are happening with that, but generally speaking, there's, you know, it really is kind of a wide variety of things that are going on with the females. Most of the time, they actually respond really well to the FoLix. You know, they don't have as much DHT affecting their follicles, so I think that's probably the biggest impact, or the biggest, you know, thing that you don't have to negate. And females generally have a very fast response. I have had women who I think I'm gonna do 4 FoLix on, and by the second one, I'm like, I can't even fit my laser on your scalp because you just had such a robust response. Definitely the younger they are, the faster they grow, and then I have a slide here in a little bit too where I'm like, wow, you just had such a robust response. One of the, I think, unspoken about side effects of FoLix, which I'm just now appreciating at this point in time, is how much it impacts the hair follicle health. So the whole entire head looks healthier. All the hair on your head looks softer, it looks healthier, it looks more robust. So although it's really easy to really dial in and just look at that spot that's thinner or whatever, everyone's hair overall just looks so much better afterwards. And so now that I'm really appreciating, it's not just treating the areas that are obviously thinning. You can really treat as much of the scalp as you can, and you're gonna get a net benefit that's really gonna help the females, and it makes a big impact in how they feel. So, yeah.
That's huge. Yeah, we talked about the actual study demographics and the surveys that were done, but quite frankly, if you took 10 of your female friends and put them in a room, showed them some of the before and after photos that we're going to go through, and obviously there's a library of these at this point, and you asked those 10 friends who would be interested in doing this, I bet your number's more like 7 or 8. That everybody would love to have healthier hair. They don't necessarily need to be experiencing hair loss. That just the ability to grow healthier hair is something that's important to everybody. And what we've had in the past are what we call imperfect solutions. You know, we've had a collection of imperfect solutions I've experienced myself. That you know, from the over-the-counter products. These could include shampoos and topicals, and there's all these great brand names. If you're on social media, you're probably getting inundated by all these different things that they'll show you amazing before and after photos with the shampoo. Well, we all know that didn't happen. The topical supplements, etc. They may be affordable, but the effectiveness varies. Compliance is really that's your biggest challenge, is that you have to continue with that product and just continue on in order to maintain any regrowth that you've seen. And obviously, the practice doesn't receive any revenue from that, or if they do, it's just the 50% of the retail price. So that's not a great solution for you guys. Pharmaceuticals, symptoms return as soon as you're off the meds. That is, I've experienced that myself. Compliance on daily usage. Most are clear for men only. There are a lot of limitations to that option. PRP, we all love PRP. PRP for the scalp has been great. Men are not big fans of it. It is a very uncomfortable procedure to perform. And the dermatologists have used words like, it's scary how unpredictable it is. That there's definitely a problem with the predictability and the consistency of PRP, that you have no idea the health of that patient, and that's what really the results are going to depend on the health of the patient. So there's nothing wrong with PRP. You may be excellent at it, you may get great results, but if you're looking for something more consistent, more predictable, FoLix may be your solution. And guys hate the procedure for the most part because it's so painful. So what we see in a lot of FoLix offices that do both is they'll offer both at roughly the same price, and then they are trying to lead their patient towards FoLix, knowing that they'll get greater predictability, greater consistency out of that, and it's easier for them to perform. It's more consistent, that you can delegate it out to anybody in your practice, and based on the state laws, and then they're going to deliver the same treatment as anybody else in the practice. So that's a great alternative, or they can be done in conjunction. Remember that our FDA clearance is based off of the laser by itself. It doesn't need anything else to work, so anything you add to it just is expected to give you even greater results. So you could do them as rotated, where you stagger them, like a pulse dosage of you do one therapy for 3 to 6 months and then move to the other. or some of our offices are doing them the same day. And that's really up to you how you want to utilize that protocol. Topicals on top of this. You I'm sure have a compounded pharmacy making you something very specific for a topical. That anything you add to FoLix is just going to make it that much better. Finally, transplants. Our marketing team put $5,000 to $15,000. When I show this slide in front of my hair restoration doctors, they laugh. They like to turn the machine on, maybe. So transplants are much more expensive than most people's appetite. And one of my best friends from college told me the other day he's planning on getting a transplant. And for him, that is the right solution. He needs 3,500 units. And when he told me 3,500 units, I was like, yeah, you're probably transplant time, and then we can help with FoLix down the road. But the transplant doctors are doing FoLix in conjunction with the transplants. They're using FoLix to help with the blood flow and the oxygen synthesis in the donor side as well as the surgical site. And so these are things that can all work together. And then once the wounds have healed, they will use FoLix to maintain what they've gotten. So it all runs in together. But what we've had in the past are a bunch of imperfect solutions, as I like to say. There's that low-level laser therapy that I talked about before. This was the original. It was a $60,000, $80,000 device that the doctors would buy, and then they would sell a membership to that. When they were trying to present evidence to the FDA in order to get a clearance, they started experimenting with lasers and LEDs, knowing that lasers would have a depth of penetration while LEDs would not. And so in that experiment, they established that LEDs actually also work a little bit. So what you now see is home use devices that you might buy and then sell in your practice. Those come from that big console device that doctors used to buy and keep. I have a red light device. For a while I'll do it 2 or 3 times a week, and then I'll not do it for several months. Patient compliance is just, that kills it every time. And then you've got this expensive device that you're not using. Medical devices with serum combination. I've deemed these advanced topicals, because remember I talked about 10 years ago when we were talking about using our non-ablative fractional laser and then using it in conjunction with topicals. Well, topicals work. So what are we really doing with our non-ablative fractional laser? Not much. The topical was doing all the job. The devices themselves are typically just something to help drive that topical into the scalp. So really these are advanced topicals, and many of the times what you're doing is you're paying for the right to buy a disposable from that manufacturer. And so if you're a real hair restoration specialist, you likely have your own formula. You have something that you piece together based on the ingredients you think are important for your patients, and that's what you're distributing. And so you don't need to go back to a manufacturer and pay them for their version of that. That's good. So the FoLix is the first FDA-cleared fractional laser for hair loss. It's a breakthrough natural hair loss treatment leveraging the body's own process. Clinically verified to be safe and effective, simple to use, easy to learn, quick to treat without anesthesia. Capture the demand with a revolutionary solution for patients to improve scalp hair appearance in quick monthly sessions with minimal discomfort and no downtime. And partner with Lumenis to receive best-in-class support. People ask all the time, how is this working? What is this doing? So we, of course, did a mechanism of action study. To put it quite simply, what we're doing is we're triggering your body's natural wound healing response. And in that wound healing response, your body is providing the necessary oxygen and blood flow to that area in order to grow, in order to stop that hair loss. And so we've got a great mechanism of action study. We're happy to share that with you guys, and that's peer-reviewed publication. Then clinical proven results. I mentioned this in several studies earlier tonight. There are multiple studies that have been done and many more that are being done right now. We spent the first year for FoLix really partnering with the correct doctors, partnering up with the leading dermatologist, partnering up with the leading hair restoration specialist in order to kind of prove that it worked. And then once we reached that point, we've made it to that point now where the question isn't whether or not it works, it's how do I make money off of this? And so it's funny that I now receive very commonly calls from national accounts or the money guys that run these national accounts or private equity groups, and they want to know how they could capture this for their practice or their practices. That it seems like here's a whole category that's being unserved and unmet, whereas oftentimes they're evaluating technologies to try to determine, well, we're going to drop $100,000 per location in order to have insulated needles versus non-insulated needles, or some nuance like that. And then when they start talking to me about, you mean I can own a whole category? I could be the one that offers a laser treatment, the only FDA cleared laser treatment for hair loss. That's pretty exciting. So right now we're talking about commercialization, and that's where we are within kind of our launch status. That's your mechanism there.
Mechanism? Are you going to talk about the study, or are you going to talk about what I see? So I think, you know, definitely for females and males, I'm definitely seeing significant results. Depending on what's going on with them, what their etiology is, and what the cause is, the more they're doing, definitely the more results they're going to have, and then the end result being dependent on really what all is driving the hair loss in general. I haven't read the study. I'm sorry. Okay, so how many treatments? So I started out originally, I think, underestimating how many treatments I was going to need to do. If I had someone who came in with very mild hair loss, I would do, you know, maybe 3 treatments, or plan on doing 3 treatments, so 1 treatment a month for 3 months. But now I'm to the point where I don't really do that for almost anybody, unless I had this, you know, really young girl, like I was saying before, who had such a robust response. Most of my clients, I do 4, 5, 6, and then I have some really tough clients who, like one girl who has a severe history of alopecia areata that's scarred, and so I couldn't treat the scar, but I could just treat all around it as much as I could. I actually did 8 treatments on her. So there are some clients who I do up to 8 treatments for, but most of the time I'm really leaning towards the 5 to 6 sessions, so once a month. And then so what I'll do, I've now had the machine for about 10 months. So what I do is I'll do my series, I'll have them come back 2 months later, I'll get my true, what I feel like is before and afters. And then at that point, if we're happy, then we'll say, okay, why don't you come back in 3 months? Because at that point, we'll be 5 months out from our last treatment, and we'll go from there as far as what we think your maintenance plan should be. But even then, you know, their longevity, their true outcomes are, you know, going to be somewhat regulated or determined by how much they're doing. If they still need DHT blockers or not taking DHT blockers, those kinds of things can determine what they need long term. So androgenic alopecia, so female pattern, male pattern. Nobody likes when you call it female pattern baldness, male pattern baldness, but I do see a lot of it. I do think that the females that I see, they're pretty advanced typically when they come in, especially if they're more of like an Indian descent or Mediterranean kind of descent. They kind of wait until longer, and I do think, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on this, there's like more of a hesitance to put money in to treat themselves. I'm not really sure, but it's really kind of a hard sell on them, even if they're really advanced. The younger Caucasian, maybe 30, 40-year-old females, they'll come in if their part is barely wide at all, maybe their temples are thin. So I do see that in females. And then the males, I've kind of had a variety of how long it takes me to get them to a really good place, but I actually saw a client yesterday, and I can show everybody their picture because I was shocked. He's the first client who I said, you're really advanced on your hair loss, and he's my friend, my neighbor, and I was like, I just can't promise you. I don't know how you're gonna respond to this treatment. I recommended 6 treatments, and after 3 he jumped out of his chair when he saw how much hair growth he had had. So my clients vary significantly on whether they're willing to take any DHT blockers, whether they're willing to do anything else, but a lot of my clients, especially the men, are happy to come in once a month. No one knows they came in. There's no downtime. There's no side effects. There's no aftercare. I just tell them to pretend like they have a mild sunburn for 1 day. So just wear a hat for 1 day and then go on your life, and I'll see you in a month, which works for everybody. The telogen effluvium, like I said, there's so much stress in life, lots of postpartum. You know, kind of speaks for itself. Like I was saying before, like depending on why I think they're having it, helping to isolate the cause and the etiology is super helpful, because I want to know if you're telling me you're having clumps of hair coming out, then you're probably gonna be even worse off temporarily, or you're gonna really be shedding a lot. You're gonna force all those hairs out in an expeditious way that's gonna be a little bit scary. And those types of clients I'm learning from, like, I just want to be super careful. I want to make sure that they are totally good with pushing through, and maybe, you know, having things look a little bit thinner in a way to like expedite getting through it. But otherwise, if they're like, oh, I had surgery 10 months ago and I think I'm just like having some shedding, then I'm not as worried. I don't think they're gonna have as much shedding as someone who's really in the thick of it. And then the alopecia areata, I had, like I said, the client who had the history of areata, severe scarring, no longer active. So her immune system's no longer going to impact the results. And then I had an LPP, a lichen planopilaris client who came in, young girl, 40s, and she had a really wide part and a scar from a biopsy. So she was getting treatment for her LPP at the same time, and I did the FoLix. She had a great result. So given that she had an active autoimmune disorder going on, I still was able to get results for her. All right, so these are my personal case studies, or my personal clients. This client is early 30s. As you can tell, she has very fine, very thin hair, and she didn't even really appreciate that she had fine thin hair. She's like kind of a tomboy, and she's like, I didn't even realize until I looked down or somebody told me or I saw a picture. So I treated her for 5 sessions, and then I had her come back 2 months later. And to be honest, to the naked eye, when I saw her picture, her after picture, I was like, oh my God, I don't even really know if this looks substantially better. And then I put them next to each other, and I was like, holy cow, this looks so much better. As you can see, what I was saying before is like her hair in general just looks so much more voluminous, healthy, shiny, conditioned almost, like she's been treating her hair, and I know this girl has not been doing that. So it just, overall, her hair looks so much healthier. So five treatments and total of 7 months from when we started. This is the severe telogen effluvium postpartum client I keep talking about, because it was one of my scariest moments of like not knowing if I was helping her or not, and wanting to feel more confident. So she came in 3 months postpartum. She said, I'm losing hair. Said, let's push through it. Let's see what we can do. She actually skipped a couple of months because she was, busy with a newborn. And then she came back in. And so after her 3rd treatment, she really started to have a lot of growth. She was happy by this point and didn't actually want to do more, even though I did. But she pushed through it and she got there. I think she's going to have a lot of growth because I do think she lost a lot of hair. To be fair, she didn't lose hair because of the FoLix. She lost it because of the postpartum and the telogen effluvium, but it was a significant event for this very young girl. This young man is a 40-year-old man. He was my first FoLix client. He came in on my day I trained, and actually, to be fair, this is the 2nd treatment because the 1st treatment he had like buzzed his hair because was so insecure about the hair loss. So this is after 1 treatment, truthfully, the before baseline. And then here's, after 5 treatments, and then I waited 2 months. It gives you such a different impact and different picture when you've given the hair time to grow. And he's thrilled. As you can see, his hair just looks so healthy.
And that before photo is very much what my hair has looked like for years.
Yeah. And then this is a young guy, he's 27. So he came to me and he's really intelligent, really thoughtful, and he's been using his grandma's red light helmet, so I have no idea if it's doing anything or not. I don't know how old it is. But he said, I'm considering doing a hair transplant, but I don't know, I just want to try it. So we started pretty early on since when I'd gotten the machine, and I was very transparent from day one. I just got this machine, it's got a lot of research. I don't personally know how this is gonna go, but like, let's push forward. I feel confident in the research and the science. So we did about 5 treatments on him, and the pictures were looking pretty stagnant, like just not a really appreciable improvement. And he said, well, I'm just gonna go let it grow for a couple months and maybe I'll go get a transplant. And then he wound back up on my schedule, and I said, you're back. And he said, I'm having growth. So we did 2 more treatments on him, and so we did a total of 7 treatments. As you can see, I know I keep repeating this, but this is kind of a new revelation for me. His hair started out like wiry and dry, and now it's like beautiful and lush. I actually have another picture from him on the side too. He had so much showing on the side, and now it just looks like a very young kid's like super healthy hair. So he had a great response as well. And then this is my, I want to say GLP.
You can say
GLP. Okay. This is my weight loss client. She also has, as you can see, the extensions. So she has telogen effluvium, secondary to her malnutrition, and then she has traction alopecia secondary to her extensions that she loves and is not willing to get rid of. So her temples grew in beautifully, and so we had done 5 treatments at that point. The way her extensions are, I don't know, I've never had extensions, but they like pull so many random little tiny hairs that I can't get in there appreciably to do any treatments. So her and I have made a contract that she's gonna go get her extensions out, I'm gonna do a treatment, and then she'll go back and get them. And that's what we're gonna do, and she's willing to do that, but that's the only way I'm gonna be able to get through and treat that little area down there. So I've had clients who have been able to take their extensions out after the treatments, which is great. But yeah, despite her having ongoing poor nutrition.
So one challenge you have with the with extensions is they put a lot of weight on there. So if there is thinness in the hair, all that's happening with the extensions is pulling that gap open wider. So imagine being able to treat that gap in between, giving more volume and to kind of lift all those hairs as well. So it can go in junction with hair extensions. But does anybody in this room have any idea how much hair extensions cost?
About 15 to 2,000.
How much?
Depends where you go, but about $1,300 to $2,000.
$1,300 to $2,000, and we sat with an office that performs. Yeah,
Not
they're
bad.
charging $5,000 for hair extensions. So this is a patient or a client that's used to spending that kind of money to make their hair look good. And if you can offer a true hair loss solution, I think that's something that's very important for that same patient.
Oh, this is your patient, I think?
This is not my patient, but this is where it starts looking a little bit more medical. This is the friend, I believe, of AJ Marcelino. Is that correct? Not positive, but you can see a massive improvement in that hair loss up top. Go to the next one though. That's the one that I'm passionate about. This is one of our friends. Many of us know Amy Davis. She's over in Dallas, Texas, and is a friend of both of ours. And she has a 12-year-old patient who has been seen by a dermatologist, biopsies on his alopecia. They've tried everything, steroids, topicals, oral. They've tried everything in order to help him with his hair loss. And she's only done 2 treatments. He gets his 3rd treatment Saturday. But you can see the massive improvements that he has. And the after on this one on the left-hand side is to show that he's now cutting his hair shorter because he's not trying to hide the bald spot. And so this is going to be something that's just monumentally going to change his life. The question sometimes people ask, well, can you treat children? Absolutely, so long as they come with their consenting adults. Children do suffer from conditions that can be addressed by FoLix, so there's nothing that excludes somebody because of their age. I will exclude a pregnant person every time though. Agreed? Yeah. Don't ever treat a pregnant person under any circumstances. All right, go ahead. FoLix, unique features before we get all of our dinner served. The graphic user interface, if you have a chance, step in front of the machine tonight. It's absolutely beautiful, it's simple, it's elegant. There's really no way you can mess this up. You're choosing large spot, small spot. You're choosing, do I prefer a rectangle or a hexagon? That's it. You're not going to mess this up. You're not going to do anything that's going to be detrimental to the patient or to their progress. There's a unique algorithm to ensure optimal irradiance and area coverage. The follicle tip is unique as well. So pick up the handpiece and hold that, and it'll look and feel very different than anything else you've ever worked with. That follicle tip is intended to be in contact with the scalp. So you need to have contact with the scalp in order to have the benefit of the cooling mechanism. If you're floating up in the air, that means that the patient's receiving all of the laser energy without the benefit of the cooling. So we want for the tip, it's almost got like blades on either end to kind of help push it through the part and help hold the part separate while the sapphire lens is in contact with the skin. So that's a very unique design feature. Treatment protocol, we typically say 4 to 6 treatments. It's not because we vary in what our recommendation is, it's because the demographics and your location may feel like it's difficult to sell a package of 6, or at $1,000 a treatment, this is just going to become price prohibitive. So if you're in an area where it might seem price prohibitive, you might suggest 4 treatments. As opposed to suggesting 6 up front. But our protocol is 4 to 6 treatments. typical going rate is something in the $1,000 range, and what most offices will offer is pay in advance, and it's a lower price. And then what you can do is to give that pay in advance option even more value is, and then you lock yourself in at that discounted rate. So let's say we want to do a series of 5 treatments, and we're going to offer that for $3,500 paid in advance. They're then also locking themselves into $700 treatments moving forward. So over the course of 5 years, you not only see that patient for the 5 treatments up front, but 2 to 4 times annually at $700 a piece. So there's a trailing revenue stream for this as well. It's not kind of a one and done, and that's important to you guys as you're evaluating expensive technology. No chemicals, no needles, no surgery, outstanding results, no pre or post care. Treatments, we say up to 30 minutes, and I think I keep hearing say 30 minutes. Pat and I get treated, it takes them 8 minutes to do my hair. How long for you, Pat?
Yeah, 10 minutes. Maybe.
10 minutes. So it depends on the patient. You know,
I spend longer.
she spends longer. She is much more nurturing than my nurse has been. But you know, there's minimal discomfort, no need for anesthesia. People ask all the time, do you need to numb for this? Absolutely not. If the patient is uncomfortable in any way whatsoever, all that you have to do is shrink to the small scan size, because the small scan size is going to benefit greater from the radial cooling. So they really won't feel much of anything. On a scale of 1 to 10, I typically say a 1 or a 2. There are a couple of areas like the front of the head that may be a little bit spicier, but it's very tolerable. And the way that you can make it more comfortable for a patient is just to shrink the scan size. And since you're moving in a linear fashion down the part, it doesn't change your treatment time that much to go from big to small. Any thoughts?
Yeah, so my thoughts are, I actually only use the smallest size because the only clients I've ever had that would be justified to use a bigger size were the men, and they hated it. They were more uncomfortable, and so for me, I'd rather everybody be very comfortable during the treatment. So I use the small size on absolutely everybody, and I go over your whole head. If there's an area that I can't fit my laser, I don't hit that spot, but I use the smallest one on everybody every time. And then there was one other point I was gonna make, but I forgot.
Oh, good. For your consultation, actually, this is a great news slide. Tell me about your consultation.
Yeah. Oh, I remember my other point I was going to make is I started originally going this way to this way, and I found that I got a lot better coverage going laterally from side to side. Just the hair part's so much better. That being said, up above the ears and down here on the sides and the temples is the most sensitive. By the time you get to up here and back here, no pain or discomfort whatsoever. So, you know, I do start at this most sensitive spot, but it's like by the time you get up to here, people are like, oh, I don't even care anymore. So.
And what sort of parting tools are you using?
I use a little comb, just like they gave us tonight. I've looked for I use my hands. Honestly, I've looked for all kinds of different things to like clip, and the clips get stuck in the hair, and I'm spending more time on clips than I am doing the treatment. So I use my 2 little hands and 1 comb.
Wow. And there are all sorts of tools out there, from Velcro. There's many tools to help you. Just choose what works for you, and we can give you some advice if you have any questions.
You can send me some Velcro because I haven't tried that. So my consultation, because I'm a trichologist, I offer a complimentary hair loss consultation. It's my way of trying to bring in new clients. I can afford to do it because I have the time and I don't have a huge clinic, right? So I'm trying to build my clientele in my clinic. So what I do is I have complimentary hair loss consultation. I don't write the medication scripts, but I will go through and I'll say, you know, let's figure out why you're having this hair loss and let's think about what we can do about it. There will be some things that I might recommend that I'm not going to provide for you, but I can give you recommendations. Maybe you need to go to a dermatologist or someone else. I only do the natural things, and I only do the FoLix, I do hair red light, and I do plated. So I give a thoughtful recommendation on trying to help people understand, and then the multitude of things that they can do within their limits, their financial limits, or if they're willing to take medication. Maybe 80% of my clients are not willing to take a medication, so that kind of just wipes that out the door.
Would you address that for anybody that may not know that, of why your patients don't want to take medication?
My patients, so my business, my branding is very natural. So we use all clean products and all science-backed and all just clean everything and more natural stuff. For the men, sometimes they've tried the medications in the past or they're afraid of side effects. For the women, you know, I would say that some of them are okay with some spironolactone or maybe something else. Maybe they've already tried it. But I think in general, by the time they come to me for this type of a treatment, they're like, you know what, I just want something that works. I don't want to sit around for 6 more months and take medications. I don't want to do, this woman I saw this morning, she was doing everything, every kind of pill, every kind of copper topical. I'm like, I don't know, at this point, you're not hurting yourself, right? So I do think that it comes along with the territory of the frustration that women, especially when they're going through menopause and postmenopausal, will go through, where they're just like desperate for solutions. And they've sometimes already thrown the kitchen sink at it before they come to me.